Coming up on the Charge on Air. Tensions rising in Iran. What's next on the horizon? And what is the UCF community saying about the trouble brewing in the Middle East?
Are we finally go for launch? The Artemis 2 mission passes a major milestone when NASA will send astronauts around the moon.
The federal government is investigating social media posts. Find out what they're looking into.
In sports, men's basketball is entering the home stretch before March Madness. Find out what they're doing to prepare for a big matchup tomorrow night.
The Charge on Air starts now. Good afternoon and welcome to the Charge on Air. I'm Andrew Cherico.
And I'm Isaac Abdelmessih. Today is Friday, February 20th, 2026. Breaking news this morning, the Supreme Court has struck down some of President Trump's tariffs. The court ruled 6-3 that Trump exceeded his authority by invoking a 1977 emergency law to impose tariffs. Chief Justice John Roberts wrote that the 1977 law does not give the president the authority to enact tariffs. This ruling invalidates many, but not all of Trump's tariffs. President Trump is expected to reimpose some of those tariffs under different laws. We'll keep you updated as this situation develops. Since February 6th, Iran and the United States have reignited talks aimed at reaching a nuclear peace agreement. I had the chance to get an update on recent high-level meetings and speak with UCF personnel to get their perspective on a possible peace deal.
A new window of opportunity has opened.
On Tuesday, Iranian and American officials continued indirect negotiations in Switzerland regarding Iran's nuclear status. This comes after a year-long dispute between the two powerhouses over the advancement of Iran's nuclear program.
If you really want to get the job done, do it face-to-face.
UCF Political Science Associate Professor Dr. Human Sadri specializes in teaching international relations with a focus on the Persian Gulf and Eurasia. He says that if both nations want to move towards diplomacy, they need to speak face to face.
You say what? You say this, you go there. And then if, God forbid, diplomacy doesn't work, when the diplomats are not talking, who's talking? The generals.
Relations between America and Iran took a turn after the United States joined forces with Israel and launched airstrikes on Iranian nuclear bases in June 2025. Now, officials from both nations are looking for an agreement to avoid a regional war. But there's a catch. Though tensions have increased between the USA and Iran in the last few months, both countries have sent officials to negotiate their demands. For example, the USA wants Iran to tighten its nuclear program, while Iran wants economic sanctions lifted off its country. Farzan Farahmand is an Iranian UCF PhD student. He says that his family and friends living in Iran think the current Islamic regime will not attain diplomacy with America, because the regime does not work with diplomacy.
This regime does not work with diplomacy. They only understand the language of force and power.
In Orlando, Isaac Abdelmessih, The Charge on Air. While no compromise has been reached yet in the latest U.S.-Iran talks, we'll continue to track any changes and bring you updates as negotiations unfold.
On February 13th, the U.S. government underwent a partial shutdown, only affecting the Department of Homeland Security. This comes 3 months after the last complete government shutdown, leaving DHS employees working without pay once again. A statement from the DHS expresses the department's frustration with the ruling, saying politics were put over public safety. Tatiana Finley, a member of the American Federation of Government Employees, says she's worried about her family's finances because of the shutdown.
Next week is when we're going to probably start encountering those issues of, am I going to be able to pay for daycare? Am I going to be able to pay for gas to make it to work? Many of the officers that work in Orlando International Airport, many of them live about an hour away.
Table for the end of this shutdown. But if you're traveling, you may want to look out for longer lines. TSA workers will be without pay, which could lead to unexcused absences.
We have a breaking update in the mission to send astronauts around the moon for the first time in more than 50 years. After a successful wet dress, NASA officially set a launch date for the Artemis 2 mission. Now we want to bring in Charge on Air reporter Shane Winsten, who has been following this mission so closely. Shane, this comes as NASA needed to fix some major issues, correct?
Yeah, that's right. After fixing fuel leaks, NASA is now targeting March 6th for the Artemis 2 launch. I want to give you a live look at the SLS rocket sitting on the historic launch pad 39B. This was the second time the rocket underwent the major fueling test. In the first test, 2 weeks ago, NASA officials found a small hydrogen leak while loading the more than 700,000 gallons of fuel into the rocket. Late into the night, engineers counted down to the 30-second mark without detecting any significant leaks. Teams then reset the clock to repeat the final 10 minutes of the countdown before concluding the 2-day rehearsal. With the completion, NASA says they are targeting 2 weeks from today for the mission launch.
Some of those, but overall the countdown went very, very smoothly. We do have work to go to get our systems ready for launch. We've already begun the data reviews from the wet dress yesterday, and there's some other work that needs to be done out at the pad.
Says they need to continue analyzing the data and do a flight readiness review. But if all of those go according to plan, NASA says they will be in good position to hit their target date. Artemis 2 will send 4 astronauts on a 10-day journey around the moon and back, marking the first crewed lunar mission since Apollo 17 in 1972. Make sure to stay tuned to The Charge and follow us on our social media platforms to get any breaking updates on the mission. Reporting in studio, Shane Winsten, The Charge on Air.
Concerns about privacy and free speech are growing tonight after reports that federal officials are seeking user data from major tech companies. I had the chance to find out why one political expert says the move raises serious constitutional questions.
We need change that is dramatic, that is bold, that is meaningful, and that is transformational.
Instead, tensions continue to rise, and now constitutional rights are being threatened. Earlier this week, the New York Times reported the Department of Homeland Security is sending out administrative subpoenas to major tech companies like Google and Meta to gather information on citizens criticizing ICE. Political science professor Dr. Aubrey Jewett says the development is both striking and in some ways predictable.
Surprising on one level, not so surprising on another. Surprising on the one level because it seems to be a somewhat unprecedented step to squelch people's First Amendment rights to criticize the government and skirting the Fourth Amendment on unreasonable search and seizure. Not so surprised because under the Trump administration, they have been extremely aggressive in enforcing immigration law.
This is my personal laptop with my personal Facebook account. And if I hit send on this message exercising my First Amendment right, Meta, who is already complying with some of the administrative subpoenas sent out, could flag this message and I'll end up on government watch. UCF student and representative of the Students for a Democratic Society organization, Grisha Glausman says,
it's a blatant excuse to veil their abuse of power and their murders of people.
The DHS could be using administrative subpoenas because, unlike judicial subpoenas, they do not require a judge's signature, proving a credible threat. In Orlando, Andrew Cherico, The Charge on Air. Google and Meta are reportedly beginning to comply with some of the terms of those subpoenas. It's also important to remember these tech companies still have the option to legally challenge the DHS in court. And guys, I'm not sure about you, but I'm starting to feel like it's some normal Florida weather coming around.
Yeah, let's bring in Diego Ortiz. And Diego, tell us what's going on out there.
Well, yeah, guys, I don't know about you, but it is getting very warm here in these last few days. I have plans tomorrow to go back to Vieira to celebrate my sister's birthday, so I'm definitely hitting up the beach tomorrow. Let's take a look at those current conditions right now. It's currently 82 degrees outside, 60% chance of humidity with a slight breeze, wind blowing 10 miles per hour southwest. Good news though, 0% chance of rain. That's all for right now. We'll take a look at the weekend and beyond coming up later.
A new RSO on campus is on a mission ending overdose deaths at UCF.
It is important for us all to do that so that we can prevent future deaths.
Find out how they're doing it coming up next.
Love is a lesson that doesn't end. It knows no conditions, so you better buckle in. Love keeps you on your toes. It never stops, only grows. Love isn't easy. It's a commitment. Especially when they're being their most resistant. Love is being prepared for the journey ahead. Love doesn't let any concerns go unsaid. Love is finding the right seat so you can take a breath. But remember, love isn't lax. It always double checks. Check that your kids are in the right seat at nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Love protects.
The impact of a meal goes well beyond feeding our bodies. Food can open endless possibilities for people to thrive. Because when people are fed, futures are nourished. Everyone deserves to live a full life. And with your help, together we can end hunger. Join the movement at feedingamerica.org/actnow.
UCF students are saving lives and fighting back against drug overdoses. A brand new RSO on campus is dedicated to providing students with resources and education. Charge on Air reporter John Warner tells us more.
We distribute naloxone, which is what prevents opioid overdose death.
Alexander Jadou is the founder of the End Overdose RSO at UCF. He says the biggest hurdle to getting help is overcoming the stigma.
I feel like a lot of people have trouble reaching out for resources like naloxone or fentanyl test strips. They feel like it might be embarrassing or incriminating even.
Jadou says a major part of ending overdoses is education, and that starts with other RSOs.
As far as that, it's just identifying an overdose, so the signs and symptoms of an overdose, and then how to respond and what to do.
I'm right outside the UCF pharmacy at the health center, where students have access to Narcan for free. And health experts say that it may save another student's life, or even your own.
The amount of fentanyl that would it take to cause a lethal overdose is enough to fit the tip of a pencil.
Jorge Lopez is a licensed mental health counselor with UCF Health Services. He says overdoses can happen to anyone thanks to fentanyl-laced drugs. He says now,
people who aren't even regular users of a substance, they take an Adderall to study and they're getting an overdose.
Jadou says that more than anything, acceptance of overdose prevention is key.
It is okay to reach out for naloxone or fentanyl test strips. It is okay to get trained in overdose response scenarios. It is important for us all to do that so that we can prevent future deaths.
At UCF, John Warner, The Charge on Air.
UCF police say they responded to 9 overdose calls in 2025 and 2 already in 2026. Students are encouraged to call 911 if they suspect an overdose. Students struggling with substance abuse should contact health services for help.
The Go for Launch pep rally took place at the Fair Winds Alumni Center. The event was a teaser to announce the biggest capital campaign launch in UCF history. The speakers talked about the 4 pillars of UCF: elevating student success, fueling discovery and innovation, advancing our future frontiers, and driving competitive excellence. College of Business Chief of Operations Tiffany Hughes and Program Director of the Blackstone Launchpad, Cassie Willard, spoke at the event. After Student Body President Lucy Blanco introduced Senior Vice President for Advancement and Partnership Rob Garbowski, who announced the goal of the campaign to raise $3.5 billion. The campaign will officially launch on Saturday at a private event and be publicly announced on Monday.
Do you have a parking ticket? Here's a solution. UCF Parking Services is offering students the option to pay for 1 unpaid parking ticket with provisions. Students can head to Knight's Pantry at Farrell Commons to donate Monday through Friday from 7:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. You'll present your items and documents at the front desk. A full list of eligibility restrictions can be found on the UCF Parking Services website. Knight's Pantry has released a list of items in high demand, as well as personal care items and dietary restriction items. Students can pay with provisions until March 6th.
For nearly 1 million Floridians, finishing a prison sentence is the only first step in reclaiming their civil rights. The UCF Office of Public Policy held its Perspectives on Felon Rights Forum. Yesterday afternoon, the panel shared various views on Florida's restoration process. For panelist Dr. Malik Muhammad, the necessity for reform is rooted in his personal experience as a senior correctional administrator.
My recommendation for my ideas would simply mean to evaluate our policies based on our current times and focus more on rehabilitation than incarceration.
A larger bridge effort to bridge the gap between public policy data and the real-world experiences of returning citizens. Muhammad explains that we still have a ways to go for true reform.
Students feasted their ears on melodic sounds sweeping through the Pegasus Ballroom on Tuesday evening. The UCF Wind Ensemble and Symphonic Bands presented their first concert of the semester. UCF Director of Bands Scott Luberoff says the ensembles are made up of the best. He says competitive auditions were used to select members of both bands. The Wind Ensemble was joined by guest faculty performer Rai Suzuki and composer James Stevenson for parts of the performance. Both bands will play their next concert on April 8th at the Dr. Phillips Center for Performing Arts.
UCF celebrated writing excellence with the 16th annual Knights Write Showcase on Wednesday. Knights Write is an annual event hosted by the Department of Writing and Rhetoric. It features outstanding writing across contexts, aiming to highlight the importance of writing throughout life. You can see writers filling the Pegasus Ballroom. The day was full of poster sessions, panel presentations, and award ceremony led by coordinator Lori Pinkert. Students and faculty presented their writing and research on topics on interests like AI, pop culture, and STEM.
A UCF group says they are inspiring new hope among students through a simple keychain. College of Sciences ambassadors hosted an event Thursday where students got the chance to create hope keychains. They made them for cancer patients and survivors. The ambassadors say the keychains are a way for students to give back to the community and bring awareness to UCF's annual Relay for Life event. That event is set to take place on Saturday, March 7th at Memory Mall. Students can check out the American Cancer Society's website to donate and for more information.
Universal Orlando Resort is rolling out a new ticket option. The resort says the ticket gives guests 6 or 7 days for the price of a 5-day ticket. This ticket includes all access to all 4 parks, including the new Epic Universe. Park officials say this ticket is designed to continue its growth into a week-long vacation destination. The resort says the ticket can be paired with a stay at select Universal hotels to earn a $300 dining credit. The cold is in the rearview mirror, but it's catching back up real quick.
Don't look back and continue your drive to the beach with the sun out for the weekend.
For decades, I've taught you everything I know. How to safely build a fire. How to control the flames. What to do with hot coals. How to secure your chains. But I can only teach wildfire prevention. Only you can prevent wildfires.
Temperatures look to be stabilizing, or not. Students are still deciding between battling the hot and fighting the cold. Let's check in with student meteorologist Cian Porter from Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University for a look at the national forecast.
Good afternoon, everybody. Currently, we are seeing a wide range of temperatures throughout America. Over here in our southern states, it is a bit warmer down here. We are seeing above normal temperatures, possibly even some record-breaking temperatures. But on the other hand, over here in our western state, it is a bit cooler. We are seeing below to normal temperatures, which is bringing in a snow potential. Over here around California, we can see some 10 to 15 inches of snow, and that same snow will spread throughout the Rockies. Same for our Great Lakes. There is also a snow potential up there in the north as well. But in our southern regions over here by Alabama, with the mixture of warm air and warm water coming in from the Gulf, we will see a low risk of severe storms start to rise. And also with our cold front that will be making its way to Florida, but more on that with UCF.
All right, 1 week is cold, the next week is hot. This roller coaster with the weather is driving me insane. Isaac, what's coming up next week?
Well, yeah, Andrew, this is one Orlando roller coaster I don't want to ride, so yeah, there's that.
Let's check in with student reporter Diego Ortiz to see this week's upcoming temperatures.
Yeah, guys, let's take a look at some of those temperatures around Florida where it's getting a little bit warmer. 84 in the Palm Coast, we got 82 in Gainesville, 85 in Leesburg, 86 in Winter Haven, 83 in Tampa, 86 in Brevard County and Melbourne, close to the beach, so it'd be a good time to go to the beach around this time. And then of course 86 here in Orlando. And let's take a look at that 5-day forecast, shall we? So on Saturday, a high of 87, a low of 63, but no rain, so again, pretty good day to go to the beach, maybe go to the pool. Sunday, kind of similar, not as hot, 78, pretty chilly, low 51 and a 40% chance of rain, so a little bit gloomy there. But then Monday and Tuesday, that's where we start to get a little bit colder. 56 is the high on Monday with the low of 41. 0% chance of rain though. Then on Tuesday, kind of a similar day, 58 of the high, and then a pretty low 35 degrees. Wednesday too, we start to get a little bit warmer, but still pretty low temperatures. 72 is a high, 37 is a low, and then a 0% chance of rain. So, you know, as we start to progress into the start of the next week, it's time to bring those coats back out. So yeah, we're kind of riding that wave of the roller coaster that you guys were talking about earlier at the desk. Back to you guys though.
All right, thank you, Diego. Coming up next, we take a look at the out-of-this-world start from UCF softball.
Plus, it's crunch time for UCF men's basketball.
Well, so we have to understand that, and we have to look at that as a challenge for us as well.
Find out how they're getting ready for a big matchup against Utah tomorrow night.
When it comes to making plans, you are the best. Those 9 months were also 273 days of planning. What about your daughter's first costume party? It was out of this world. And let's not forget those barbecues you plan in detail for your family and your more vegetarian by the day best friends. That surprise party for your parents' golden anniversary? You get the golden planning. The same way you plan each detail for those moments, start planning to protect you and your loved ones from a natural disaster. Sign up for local weather and emergency alerts. Prepare an emergency kit and make a family communications plan. Protecting your family is the best plan you can make.
Hi, I'm Ryan Blaney, a third-generation race car driver, and we dedicate a lot of our time to going as fast as possible. My grandpa Lou is the reason why my dad and I started racing, and I'm really proud to follow in his tracks. But when my grandpa was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, it was a very unexpected bump in the road for us. I've learned a lot on this journey with my grandpa Lou, and the memories of my grandpa will always be with me. And in our family, we're used to getting involved, and I encourage you to do the same, especially when it comes to caring for your loved ones. When I think about Alzheimer's and the impact it had on my family, I recognize that losing a race isn't such a bad day after all. It's important to notice if older family members are acting differently, experiencing problems with their memory, or having trouble with routine tasks. Talking about Alzheimer's can be really tough, but if you notice something, have a conversation with your loved one. Encourage them to see a doctor or offer to go with them. Early detection of Alzheimer's can give your family time to explore support services, make a plan for the future, and access available treatments. If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together.
It is at UCF right now.
What's going on, Knights, and welcome back. I'm Nick Cohen here for your UCF Sports Update. Under the lights and out of this world, UCF softball delivered a space game win at home. The Knights took down Ohio 4-1 at the UCF softball complex, marking their 10th win of the season. Freshman Hannah Dempsey tossed a career-high 5 scoreless innings, while Beth Damon provided a spark at the plate, launching a solo home run to extend UCF's lead. The Knights won't slow down, facing Ohio again later today before hosting Penn State tonight at the UCF softball complex. On Wednesday night, the UCF women's basketball team fell to the Kansas State Wildcats. It marks the team's 8th straight loss. UCF was without guards Leah Harmon and Summer Yancey. While many things went wrong for the Knights, sophomore guard Kiana Cox was able to step up thanks to a depleted backcourt and reached her career high in scoring in her 2nd straight game, this time scoring 22 points.
Haven't been easy for us, with your top 3 scores out right now, but that's part of the game. That's why you say next man up, our next woman up.
UCF has just 3 games to go on their season. They're traveling to Cincinnati to play the Bearcats on Saturday before they're back home on the 25th against West Virginia. Then they'll play Houston on the road on March 1st to end their season. UCF men's basketball team snapped its 3-game losing streak Tuesday night, but now faces a turnaround where they travel with another Big 12 test ahead. The Knights held off the TCU Horned Frogs 82-71 to end a 3-game skid and steady their postseason hopes. Jordan Burks led the charge with 23 points and 7 rebounds, while Themis Folks added 14 points and 7 assists. UCF built a double-digit halftime lead behind improved defense. The win pushed the Knights to 18-7 overall and marked their 7th conference victory.
And they'll be playing with a desperation as well, so we have to understand that, and we have to look at that as a challenge for us as well. And so our guys are, they should enjoy this tonight, and they should enjoy this, but come tomorrow morning, they should wake up and it should be a reset, and let's start preparing for our next opponent.
Currently at the bottom of the Big 12 standings. The Knights may be without team-leading scorer Riley Kugel, who had to be helped off the court late. Head coach Johnny Dawkins says his status is still unknown. Tip-off is set for Saturday night at 9 p.m. Eastern in Utah.
That's all the time we have right now, Knights.
Be sure to keep up with us throughout the week on our socials. See you then, Knights. Have a great weekend.